Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from, wherever you're listening from on Amazon platform and other audio platforms. This is Canute's Exploration, your topic in a podcast. As usual, we'll be talking about a number of things that will help you to be empowered. You know, we all go through adversities, and all adversities are not for just us, but for others. So when you are going through adversities, just embrace them because you'll be able to support others when the time comes. I'll be talking to a very important guest about a number of things that basically affect women. Yes, affect women, but remember, men, we do have sisters, we do have wives and girlfriends and so on. We can share this with, and I'm sure that my guests will talk to you, men, as well as it relates to the topic that we'll be looking at. And my guest is no other than Krista, and Krista is going to be telling more about herself and some of the situations as it relates to dating. Let's let Krista into the studio. Krista, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing, Canute?
I'm good. I like that name, Krista Marie.
Why,
Right,
thank you.
nice. Krista, but before we go on to some other you know the topic in general and what we'd like to talk about, I'd like to find out who are you really?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Well, I am a mom. I would say a mom first and foremost to three amazing kids. I'm a partner. I'm a daughter. I'm a business owner. I am a chef by trade. I'm all sorts of things. I'm a multi-dimensional character, if you will.
That's cool. That's cool. Many caps, right? But I'd like to find out about your childhood.
Oh, I had a good child. Well, I had a good childhood. I grew up. I was born in Ontario, in Canada, and I lived with both my parents until I was 8. My parents split up, and my mom moved to the East Coast in Canada. So I spent a lot of time going back and forth between my mom and dad's place, and but I was very well loved by both parents, and we had a somewhat affluent home and life, and I had a lot of fun, did
Yeah,
lots of kids things.
I love that. I love that. Dating. It's very important that we talk about this. Dating has changed. I'd want to think, and you will tell us about that since the COVID, because people couldn't get together physically, and they have used various means to date, so to speak. As that continued, I want you to touch on that. Let me hear that. As that continued, that people still in this COVID form of dating, or they shift back, revert to the previous mood of dating.
Well, people are starting to shift back to the previous way. However, during COVID, a lot of us kind of dug in and became hermits,
Yeah.
or like hermits. And I know that there are still people who are having trouble getting out of that sort of cocoon they've made for themselves in their own home, especially if they are working from home and they just don't get out as much. And so there's definitely a shift from people putting themselves out there, wanting to be out there, to a certain percentage of the population is still at home and hesitant to go out and mix with people and sort of rejoin the world, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When we come so complacent, some of us, in terms of at home, working from home, and dating from home, right? But,
Right.
but Krista, one of the things I'd like to find out, you talk about being exposed to all the unsuitable matches, crazy people, scammers. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's funny because you know when you're dating, and especially when you're dating over 40, whether you're male or female, although I have a 21-year-old daughter and we talk about
Yeah.
dating a lot, so it's
Right.
sort of similar things. But
Yeah.
when you're dating, sometimes there's this sense of urgency. You know, you want to meet somebody, you want to move to the next step of having somebody in your life, and you tend to forget in the process the things that are most important to you. And when you start to forget the things, the core values that are important to you, then you start having unsuitable matches because you're not specific about what you want, whether it's what you want in your head or what you want on a dating app, or even when you're speaking to people. So I think that when people rush through things, they have more unsuitable matches, which then leads to frustration because they think, well, I'm not getting anywhere. There's nobody out there who's right for me.
So it's all about satisfying your need now and not even thinking about the implications of how you get to do it, how you're doing it. Right?
Exactly.
You know, that's critical. Be who you want to date. That sounds, I mean, it sounds a bit weird, you know?
It does.
Talk to me.
It does for sure. But what I mean by be who you want to date is, you know, if you're sitting at home in your pajamas every day and you're kind of a grumpy person, then that's the type of person that you're going to draw into your life. If you want somebody who's positive and energetic and full of life, then you need to be that person too. You know what I mean? It's an energetic match, making sure your energy is what you want to draw into your life.
But you know, Krista, it's strange because where do you draw the line? Love is love. I see that person and I, you know, think I love that person. I mean, I say think because I mean, first sight, you know, but right. But that's about what I'm feeling. Love. It doesn't matter if that person is like me or you know of my attitude. Talk to me. I mean, it's very strange. How we push love aside and wait until we see the person who is like us.
Well, I think that it's not a matter of choosing somebody who's like you. It's about attracting, the law of attracting, bringing somebody into your world who is similar to you. And love, you know, opposites attract for sure. There are those situations where you meet somebody who's totally different and you fall head over heels in love. And, you know, I don't ever recommend if you have feelings for somebody to push it aside and wait for somebody better. That's not what you should do. But I just think that if you are, you know, you are a certain way, you are attracting similar people into your world. And I think that if you want something specific, then you have to sort of make an effort to be the person who will attract somebody like that. And I don't think that love chooses who you fall in love with. There's no way. The heart wants what the heart wants. And, you know, countless people have had, unfortunately, not great relationships because their heart speaks to them. But I think that your heart, you have to listen to your heart, right? And sometimes there will be hiccups along the way, but I think if you're clear about what you want and you listen to your heart, that ultimately it's going to work out for you.
Right. You know, I have seen and heard some cases just recently, you know, persons who have had good marriage. Well, the day of the marriage, the wedding was good. You know, the excitement that you know is inherent, you know, in weddings. But one case that I heard of just a couple of weeks ago in the Caribbean, he killed his wife, and he went to the funeral. Sorry, and he was crying, and police picked him up just in a couple of days after he was the alleged. Well, he's the alleged murderer.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened that day of fun, frolics, and then it goes sour.
Well, I mean, luckily situations like that are so rare, right? That it's not something that's a daily problem. But I think that, I mean, in my assessment of this is that person who allegedly killed his wife, he must have been putting on a face. He must have been pretending to be somebody else, because I don't think, you know, that instinct, that inclination to take somebody else's life is just pops in all of a sudden. I think that it's there, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I remember my mom told me, and it was really great advice. She said, "Don't ever marry a man hoping he will change, because he won't." So you need to really know the person that you're involved with, and if there are red flags or things that you don't like about them, they're not going to change. So they're not probably the right person.
Yeah, and I believe that as well. I'm in psychology, and I usually say to my clients, look for those red flags, even that date, right? And that's critical. But I'm sure that you're teaching women a number of things, red flags and other things. What the first thing you actually teach women who come in contact with you, your seminars, etc.
Well, the first thing I teach women and men is that you have to love yourself first, because if you don't love yourself, if you're not happy with yourself, you can't expect somebody else to be as well, right? You need to, and everybody is amazing. They all have their own experiences and their own qualities, and you need to learn to embrace you and how amazing you are, right? So, my catchphrase is embrace yourself so somebody else can too. And that is, look at yourself and say, hey, I am amazing. I have life experiences. I have these qualities, and people are so quick to discount their own qualities. But you know what? Everything that somebody does, there's somebody out there who will think it's an amazing quality.
Yeah. But Krista, each person in the relationship, right, has a different perspective of what a relationship should be, and naturally so, came from different backgrounds and so on, personality.
Right.
But what do you think as it relates to that affecting the relationship? Would that have contributed to a number of relationship breakdown?
I think that you really need to, when you're dating somebody, when you're getting to know someone, you need to identify their core values. And if you meet somebody and there's tons of fire and passion, but your core values don't match, then you may get together and have a happy relationship for a while. But after a while, I think it will most likely deteriorate, because you're not in agreement on these things. And, this can be religion and family and career and all sorts of things. And relationship is a big one, right? If you enter into a relationship with somebody who wants to get married and you don't ever want to get married, then that's probably never going to change. And that's going to make a bigger gap as years go on. I think that you need to be in agreement on your core values when it comes to a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and as you said that, it reminds me of a triangle of love. That is, sorry, and it speaks to the whole thing about passion, commitment, intimacy, and if you have all three, you have the good love there, right? But the passion with no intimacy, no commitment is just a one night stand and so on. But my thing about it is that can these, and you would understand those elements, can those change? Will it change quickly that you have this passion alone? However, that one night stand you might call again, and I'm going deep here, right? You might call again, and then it becomes a committed relationship. Have you seen that in your work? People just become committed after a while.
Very much so. It's tough, because sometimes it's hard to keep focus and keep giving the relationship an opportunity to blossom. But one of my first clients I worked with, she started dating a man, and he said, I just want sex, I want casual dating, I don't want anything else. And they got married a couple of years ago. So I guess the question is, and you would probably know more about this than me, is if they're pushing away, is that a defense mechanism, or is that genuinely who they are and how they feel?
Yeah. It depends. It really depends on who they are and what they have experienced in life before, right? And we have seen relationship over time. You and I have reached a age that we have seen a lot of relationship. And we have seen relationships starts out good. We talk about infatuation and so on, and we have seen relationships start out good and change in terms of the mood of the relationship, and that's critical. But let me ask you a question. You talked earlier on about your childhood and that mommy and daddy are separated, but they still love you, and that is what I'd love to see. Despite the fact that parents are separated, children are still loved by both parents. Would you want to tell us how mommy and daddy actually meet? Is that okay?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Would you want to tell us how mommy and daddy actually meet? That have you heard about that? How they met?
I did. They worked in an office together.
Okay. So what you call a workplace relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm happy you said that because I'd like to go there now. Workplace relationship, workplace dating. You're big on dating.
I am. I'm big on love, right? I believe that everybody has a right to or deserves to have love in their lives and share their lives.
Right. So, how much do you agree with workplace relationship? Is it something that you think should happen, should not happen? What are the negative, the positives?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, a workplace relationship may not be ideal.
Right.
But then we're getting back to the heart, what the heart wants. And if you meet somebody in your workplace that, there's chemistry and you have a lot in common and you really have a connection, how can you say, no, I'm not going to date you because we work together? I think it becomes how you manage that. How important is your relationship that you can manage it adequately, that you can work together? I think that's the question, is how to manage it. Because I don't think that if you meet somebody who's really amazing, and we all spend so much time at work, right? By process of elimination of statistics or whatever, you're going to meet people at work maybe more than you do in other places, especially when we're all sort of indoors a little bit more. And so I think that managing a workplace relationship is the key. It's not whether or not you should have one.
Yeah. It's important that you talk to us about your seminars, your business. Do you have an outlet that you use to teach? Well, we talk about teaching women, right? Talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, I have a Facebook group for women. I used to have a men's one, but men don't talk very much, so there wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
And I do a lot in TikTok, and I offer little snippets of dating advice and bits of information for people that hopefully they can take on and make part of their lives and part of their routine. And on TikTok, every morning I do a morning affirmation video for people, just to help them get into that positive mindset, because I think that's so important. So I try to be visible and accessible for people to reach out and talk to me and ask questions. And, if my Facebook profile is public, so people can get to know me and know who I am, right?
Right. Public meaning what? What do we look for?
It just my name, Krista Melanson.
And then it's Krista
Melanson.
Right. Those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast platform, you heard it, right? You can find Krista there, and you're listening. You're watching Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. Look, Krista, I want you to talk to some people before we leave here. First of all, talk to the men as it relates to relationship.
Oh, for men, I love working with men because men can learn and focus, and they don't tend to push back as much. But for men, just believe that there is a woman out there for you, and don't love bomb them. Don't pop into their inbox and say, hey, beautiful, because we don't want to hear that. We want you to address us by our name and treat us with respect and we will respond in kind because we are just looking for somebody to make a connection with too. So avoid the instant familiarity and be respectful and get to know somebody.
Talk to the woman now, Krista. Let me hear you.
Women, please don't ever give up. I hear so many women say, I'm going to stay single for the rest of my life because it's not worth the hassle. I can tell you, I met my perfect partner. It is worth the time that you spend dating. Don't ever give up because there is somebody amazing out there. There are so many wonderful men in the world, and you just need to be able to connect with that right one.
All right. So I want you to talk to the couple now. We talk to men, we talk to women, talk to the couple, those persons in love and perhaps living together, or,
If you have somebody who you have a connection with and you have lots of things in common and you love them, then be patient. Make sure you choose your words. Make sure you give them time to speak, and don't give up. Relationships are work, but both people need to make an effort. So communicate and be patient and make sure that you're infusing love in your conversations. Don't be accusatory or critical. Try to see things from both perspectives.
Our last question for you, Krista. And, I'm not sure you're going to answer this, but proposing. Who should do that, really? And how should that be done appropriately?
Well, you know what? I think that there's a world of options out there. I'm sort of more traditional, so I believe in the feminine masculine energy, and I like the idea of women being in their feminine energy and men being in their masculine energy. So I still believe that a man should propose. And how they do that, for me, I think a private proposal is better than a public proposal. But it's to each their own. I think as long as the intention is there, and when you propose, you're thinking about the person you're proposing to, not doing it for yourself to make a big splash, if you know what I mean, right? Think about what they would want, what would mean something to them, and connect with them.
Well, one of the best proposals I've seen, I was on a plane going to Jamaica from the United States, and I all of a sudden I heard this Bob Marley song playing in the background. When I look back, it was a man with a guitar playing, proposing to I suspect somebody was dating his fiancée or whatever, and the flight crew, they were in it. It was planned. Very exciting thing. You talk about being public again.
Yeah. Oh, right. That sounds like fun, though.
Oh yes, it was. And he got congratulations from many persons. But Krista, nice talking to you, and it's really, really, really a fun thing, and the game of dating. I'm not sure if I should call it a game. I don't know if you were going to push back on me. I'll give you a minute to push back on that. Is it a game? Dating.
It is sort of a game, but it depends on how you identify or define game, right? It's not a game as in something you use to deceive people. It's something that can be fun and enjoyable. So in that way, it's like a game.
All right, Krista, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye. So that was Krista. You will see, those of you who are watching, you will see her website, KristaMarie.com. And those of you listening on your favorite podcast platform, yes, Krista, Krista, Marie, Marie.com. It's an hyphen there. So, I would chat with her, contact her and get some tips. I know you did, and she said to us that she is on TikTok and so on. So get connected and date well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Canute Exploration, your topic in the podcast. Goodbye.